Rogan started his podcast just to have conversations. It's not like he had this grand master plan. Yeah. It brought him no money. Most people made fun of him when he started it.
Right.
Even 5 years ago.
You know the real OG, Tom Green. And remember what he was doing in his living room? And he actually had Rogan on, and Rogan was like, "What the fuck is this?"
He may have birthed Rogan.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what happened. I'm not surprised. Tom Green, in and of his, in his own right, was, broadcasting on the internet from his living room in the fucking like 90s, some shit.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And then he did it his way, which was kind of chaotic and, very Tom Green. And then Rogan obviously was like, this is the future, and he perfected it. And now he's the podcast lord.
Yeah. And Rogan understood, he understood the concept of being independent because first of all, he owns his stuff. He can get his own sponsors. He's not tied to a major network. They don't have to cut up what he says. There's a massive freedom there.
Yeah.
It's almost an uncancelable thing when you're not owned by a corporation. Because why do people get canceled? They get canceled because someone did something and they're attached to a greater brand that can't be associated.
Exactly.
And therefore unhireable. Right. But if you create your own ecosystem, like Joey Diaz, you know what I mean? Yeah. Joey Diaz says whatever the fuck he wants, and it's all good because that's his brand. And that's why a lot of stand-up comedians have created their own worlds out of it. But back to Tom Green, I just think he was way too ahead of his time. Like he created the technology before the world was ready for it.
Yeah, that's it.
And Rogan was he stuck it out. Like Rogan has said that he had like years of like 100, maybe not that low, but I'm exaggerating. I'm speaking in hyperbole.
Yeah.
Years of like 500 views. But what's most inspiring about him is it was his consistency. Is that wasn't everything that he did. It was a component of what he did. Like it allowed him to network. And I think that's going to help me a lot because I don't typically reach out. I love having conversations, but this has given me an avenue to reach out and to talk to people I wouldn't necessarally talk to. Like I would talk to you obviously, but
you got to get my brother on here, man.
I'm definitely going to get him. I tried to book him.
Yeah.
I also booked Uncle Bob.
Come on.
I swear.
Is he coming in?
Yeah. No. The second he's coming in.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Uncle Bob.
That's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I text him every 2 weeks. Are you alive?
Yeah, and he's still answering?
He always sends me an insane picture. Like he's some kind of like intravenous shit, or his teeth are missing, or like his body. I mean, he put out Sober Coach.
Yeah, shout out Sober Coach. He put his body through the fucking ringer, man, and he looks great for a guy who's put his body through the ringer. He's tanned as hell and he's got lovely silver hair, but yeah, he's got his nose. He got what he refers to as a cocaine nose job, where his nose is all fucked up, his teeth are all fucked up, but he gets.
But he's changed his ways big time.
I mean, he's sober coach. Got a lot of people sober. He's been sober for fucking, I think something insane, like over 15 years.
Yeah.
He's gonna give me shit because I don't know the exact amount of time, but
no, he'll love that we're talking about.
But I mean, I can't wait that he's going to be on here.
Yeah, it's gonna be on. I needed to have him because he's such a personality. He's such a character.
He needs his own podcast too.
Absolutely.
I don't know what he's doing. He's got to get a podcast. I mean, he would maybe say some crazy shit though.
Well, that's why I want to have him on. Like
really out of control stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you're the Diet Pepsi version of him.
Yeah.
Like you call yourself Diet Punk?
Yeah.
The Smoke Show brand, Diet Punk?
That's it. I'm really diet compared to my uncle. My uncle's crazy. I'm like the diet version of my brother. You get my brother, man, you guys are going to go off on some UFO shit and it's going to be crazy. I love that.
It's going to be a lot of fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And but your uncle Bob is a wild cat, and he left a very stressful world of like drugs and craziness and madness, but he ventured off into a world of sobriety, but that was equally as stressful. So I can't wait to talk about this with him. He's on the phone all the time. He's like, people wake him up at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
He has to fly across the world all the time.
I'd say it's almost more stressful, man. The guy is fucking working 1 million hours a week. He is doing, interventions for the rich and famous. A lot of these people are like hardcore, like business CEO guys who like need results. And like Bob's there and he delivers. and he delivers this in his own kind of fucked up way, but he gets the job done, you know. And I think you're in for a wicked conversation.
But you see like he's innately doing, like, it's not like he read a branding book of how to be yourself, but essentially it comes down to, if you're yourself boldly, you're going to cut through the noise. Because how many like sober coaches or like, I don't know, psychologists or therapists are out there? Why does he cut through? He's the most rogue. He doesn't give a fuck who he offends. I'm sure people want to punch him in the face all the time.
All the time. I mean, people within the industry, regardless of how many lives he's saved, and like the amount of people that have said to me, like, your uncle saved my life, your uncle saved my life. Like, when I was in Miami with him, I went to an AA meeting. Like, he was just going, and he's like, you want to come with? I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. So we go, and everyone there was super like, hey Bob, how are you? And then they come up to me and they're like, yeah, your uncle, he saved my life. He got me out of the shitter. I was fucking on crack, on whatever. And he like really saved me. But then there's other people in the same world that are like, he's a fraud. He doesn't follow the 12 steps, blah, blah, blah. Because like there's a very spiritual side to sobriety, and that like God will help you get sober. And Bob has a saying that, you know, God didn't do this for me. I did this for me, which creates a lot of kind of controversy in that world, but whatever. He'll tell you more about it when he's
The truth
on.
is what you believe it is.
That's
right?
it. And he's just got his own brand. He's got his own kind of personality. He sticks to his guns. He never questions himself, and he just goes for it full fucking blast. And in return, he's one of the most sought after fucking sobriety coaches in North America. He does his claim to fame. I mean, what put him on the map was when he, after interviewing 8 sobriety coaches, the late Rob Ford, mayor of Toronto, who was untreatable, you know, after a long day of interviewing people, they call Uncle Bob into the room, and Bob just fucking laced into him and said, you're a fat piece of shit and you have a problem and I'm going to get you sober, blah, blah, blah. And there's a certain kind of honesty and like genuineness to my Uncle Bob, and I think a lot of people see that, and he's hard as nails. So all those create, you know, he yields great results when it comes to that stuff, but he goes like much like you to the beat of his own drum, you know.
Yeah, and I really think it's commendable. It's brave. He doesn't care who he offends, and like I said, if you try to not be cool, but try to appease the masses, you are nothing, right? Because it's not even innately yourself.
No.
If we live in a world where it's like, it's kind of scary.
You can't appease everyone. There's not one person on this planet that everyone likes. You know what I mean? So you can't try and
even Coca-Cola has half the market.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You can't go out there and try and convince everyone to like you. You're fucked if you do that. You know?
Exactly. And so back to Tom Green now.
Right.
And so are you covering your face there?
No,
you're good.
No, a little
Look
bit,
sexy.
like it's
Because I'm looking for the screenshot after. I want to make sure your pretty face
Yeah,
is
no,
covered.
I think we're good.
Okay,
I
great.
think we're good.
So yeah, Tom Green, I feel like was just like a savant, always way ahead of his time. Like he had the product before the. It's like, let's say the iPad came out in 1985.
Yeah.
That's Tom Green. Like he created Jackass
For like $1 million. Like no one could buy it. You know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
oh, the iPad's out. It's $1 million and it's sold by Tom Green. Well, no one would buy it and no one would understand what it was. And that would be the end of it.
And he like Jackass pretty much ripped him off from what I understand as well. Like Jackass was doing a lot of the old school Tom Green stunts.
Yeah. Jackass and I've done my research on Jackass. They played a big part of my life growing up, but also Pantera home videos were huge inspiration for Jackass. Have you ever watched those?
You introduced me to them.
So you have
you
seen
and
them,
your
right?
brother. We
Right.
watched them together.
Right. Yeah.
We watched them together with some special cookies, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that sounds right. Yeah, all that stuff. I think Tom Green was inspirational for them. They're like buds. There was like bullshit when Jackass came out. People were like, oh, they're just ripping off Tom Green. But no, like, I don't know. Jackass was just like skateboarding world and doing like, you know, flipping a porta potty upside down and being covered in feces. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not easy to say, oh, they just ripped it off. It's like saying that someone else in the 90s could have sang Wonderwall and they would have been as successful.
Right.
There are so many factors at play that we are completely unaware of, that we'll never be aware of. It's like for something to hit and explode, there has to be some kind of magic, what are they, Goldilocks moment, Goldilocks zone that happens. So like even with like my music and the podcast, and I can read all the marketing books I want, but I don't really know. All I know is that will I enjoy having conversations with people?
That's it.
Yeah. Will I be consistent? Yes. Do I love to make music? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I'll just keep doing them. And if some super highway comes, great. And if not, hopefully I can just make this an independent thing. And maybe the podcast is all that ever happens. Who cares? As long as it allows me to do what I love to do.
Exactly. Just go for it. You know,
Yeah.
Foot on the gas, always.
Foot on the gas. So Jackass, who was your favorite character?
Ryan Dunn. Ryan Dunn, may he rest in peace, was always...
Spoke to you.
Yeah, he was always the guy who just stepped up and was like, when no one wanted to fucking do a stunt or whatever, they'd all be like, Ryan, man, you got to do it. And he'd be like, fuck, all right. And he would get up and do it, you know? So he was like the guy. And I thought he was fucking hilarious. And he was, I mean, they're all super genuine. And I think that's part of why, you know, it was so successful, was because you were watching these guys. It's like you're watching their home videos, you know? That's all it was. There's no production value. There's no script, nothing. There's just like these genuine maniac friends who are just doing a bunch of bullshit together.
And they were really warm souls. I never really thought about it like that. But there was a camaraderie, there was a team. Whereas, let's say Tom Green was alone, and I don't think, like, to us punk kids, maybe he was like really hilarious. But was he really likable?
No, I don't think he was. And like he was doing, like I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Tom Green.
No, I'm his biggest fan. I love
right.
the guy.
But I think the guy was so out of his fucking mind. Like I'm pretty sure, and I hope I'm not wrong, but that he went to a kid's bar mitzvah dressed as Adolf Hitler, or like in an SS uniform, something along those lines. Like that's insane. Whereas, you know, Jackass guys were putting dinky cars up their ass and like going to get x-rays, you know, and like they were doing, you know, stuff like that was maybe a little bit, they were only fucking themselves up. No one else.
Other than Bam, who was fucking with his parents big time.
Right.
Which was directly like what Tom Green was doing to his parents.
Right. And that's actually something you got to speak to my uncle about, was when he got Bam sober, or tried to, you know, that was like
he got close. Can we even talk about that?
I don't know. Maybe we'll cut it out. Speak to Bob. But
no, we were not cutting anything out.
But like, yeah. I mean, that was a thing. I mean, it's no secret that fucking Bam tried to get sober. No, I remember. No, I don't think it's a big deal.
Nothing's a big deal.
Yeah, Steve-O, Brandon Novak, all these guys are like tight with my uncle through, I don't know how the fuck, but yeah, no, Bam also. Crazy bastard. Again, I'm speaking like I know these guys, but I watched so much of it growing up.
Well, we grew up with them, man. Viva la Bam. Bam was like the standout, like the guy who broke out. Like he was.
Yeah, he
like
got
the rest of the
he
crew
got the
stayed
show
together
on MTV, Viva la Bam, and he really like pushed, you know, that whole product to like. Until he was nothing left of that man. Like he was just a broken human who's a complete alcoholic, drug addict, disaster. You know?
He was always putting on the show. I guess he couldn't turn it off.
Right.
Who knows? It's obviously more complex than that. I'm not going to pretend to understand, but he brought a lot of joy to a lot of people for a very long time.
Yeah. 100%.